welcome once again, everyone, to another...
What you did say?
I was asking what kind of episode.
Oh, what you did say.
Oh, what you did say episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what one are we covering today?
Well, I think it originally started as just 28 Days Later.
Right.
But then we went and saw 28 Years Later.
Right, we did.
And then I was like, we may as well mention 28 Weeks Later because it's sandwiched right in the middle there.
Why would we leave out just one?
Yeah.
That'd be stupid.
So let's just kind of, maybe chat about all three of them.
The whole
shebang.
All right.
Yeah.
I think that's a fantastic idea. So let's start at the beginning, right? 28 days later.
4 weeks later.
4 weeks. Yeah, there you are. Boy, he could have just made it real simple.
He just shortened it, 4 weeks later.
He wanted to leave room open for the sequel.
Yes.
With the week's title.
Yes.
So, okay. 28 Days Later, released in 2002. Everyone knows the idea that infection from a rage-bound virus in a monkey test subject infects humans, and we have a zombie apocalypse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what that is.
A zombie apocalypse without the zombies.
Yeah.
Infected humans.
Yes.
Is what they are.
Right.
Which is made even more clear with 28 years later.
Yes.
Anyway, 28 days later.
Mm-hmm.
Did you like it?
I loved it. I loved it.
From day one, right?
From day one, yeah. It was something different than any other quote-unquote zombie film.
Right, yeah.
I guess you could call it a zombie film. You could almost kind of call it a virus film too, a virology film. But from day one, it was like a completely different format.
Way different.
And it really opened, I think, the floodgates for all these other films to come in and do kind of a similar concept to that film. It was like the first. Yeah,
it really was. I mean, there were some other films that tried doing fast-moving zombie-infected type things just before 28 Days Later. But this one really took the ball and, dare I say it, ran with it?
Ran with it. Yeah, these were fast zombies.
Fast.
Which you didn't see very much before that.
Right.
Before that, it's all shambling kind of decrepit.
Romero walkers. There were some big themes in that film about what is humanity? Where do you cross that line into not being human?
Would you cross that line?
Yeah, exactly.
Because I think we've discussed that several times. Like, that is so crazy and so horrific. But then it's like, well, what would I have done if I'd have been in that situation?
Right.
I don't know. I mean, I would like to say that I would be, kind and heroic and brave, but maybe
who knows?
Fear would have taken me over and I would have been the one that leaves everybody behind or something. I don't know.
Such basic instinctual level reaction.
Yeah, it's literally a place a lot of people have not been.
I should also just quickly mention for all three of these movies.
Oh, spoilers.
Spoiler warnings they're just off.
Yeah.
Our What You Did Say style episodes are always spoiler filled.
Yes.
So expect that.
Yeah, and especially for 28 Years Later, since it is such a new film, we are going to spoil things in that film. Yeah. So if you don't want to listen to spoilers on that when you haven't seen it yet, maybe hold off on listening to the last one.
We will save all references to 28 Years Later for the end of this episode. So you talked about like how would your fear take in? Would it cloud your judgment? Mm-hmm. We definitely got to see that in Jim and Selena throughout that movie.
Yes, absolutely.
Selena started very cold. She's the one who even said, hey, if you get infected, I wouldn't hesitate.
I will kill you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then Jim, of course, was the guy who was, situational, blah, 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 he just woke up from a coma. So he hadn't been experiencing it for 28 days like Selena probably had.
But I think the most stark example is the soldiers.
Oh, yeah.
That was where it starts to get really real.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, definitely.
When you start to realize that the lines have been blurred and these people are not who they were before.
Yeah.
And they think that they're doing the right thing in their mind.
Oh, absolutely.
But from the outside looking in, you're like, these people are crazy.
I mean, and it's funny because the soldiers welcome them in and, the soldiers say flat out, we'll protect you. You'll be safe here. And
no doubt believe that that's what they believed they were going to do too.
They would genuinely have been safe from infected.
Yes.
But as the big twist with all these sort of movies is, the call is coming from inside the house.
Yes.
The villains were inside that. You would have been safe from infected, but not from the whims of dark humanity.
Yeah, and I think that is a theme that holds true, at least for the first two films, where you really see, like, okay, so the outside world's really scary, but nothing is scarier than the whims of a fully sentient human being.
Yeah.
They are scary.
Yeah. Because, like you said, they think they're doing the right thing. Their goal is to repopulate.
Yes.
And
by whatever means necessary.
By whatever means necessary.
That's the problem.
That's the gross part.
That's the gross part, yeah. 28 weeks later, it takes place 28 weeks later, as the title suggests. But it has a very similar feel to 28 Days.
It does, yeah.
Especially right from the get.
The opening sequence in 28 Weeks Later is really a well-crafted sequence. Because within the few minutes...
Yeah, literally.
You are conflicted on, do you open the door for the boy? After the infection invades your safety area...
Who do you save?
Yeah,
who do you protect? Do you save yourself?
Do you blame Don for abandoning his wife who's trying to save that child that they had just met mere minutes ago?
He told her to leave him and come with me.
Yeah,
she's like, no, I have to find the kid. And
he tried pulling her away, and she insisted to go back for the kid. It looked like there may have been time for Don to go back and pull her away one more time, but would she then have insisted still on going back for the child who basically would have been a lost cause at this point, thus putting both of them in mortal danger, if not guaranteeing their death. So he, of course, abandons them both.
And they, quote-unquote, die. Yeah.
Do you fault him?
I don't know, because like I said, I have never been in that kind of duress before.
Very situational.
I have no idea what I would do. Part of me, I would definitely, I love you. I would go back for you, for sure. Absolutely, I would. But there's also a big part of me that's like, what if I just panicked and, pissed myself and ran out that house? Like, could I be blamed for doing something like that? That's a situation I've never been in.
Yeah.
I've been in scary situations, and I can tell you the small scary situations that I've been in leave you a little foggy.
Oh, sure.
Your emotions are really high, and you make decisions that you may not have made.
Yeah.
Are self-preservation emotions.
Right.
So they're meant to keep you alive.
Humanity has lived for hundreds of thousands of years on this planet because
of that.
Of following that basic self-preservation.
Fight or flight.
Yes. From the viewer perspective,
it looks terrible.
It looks like he did a really bad thing. And of course, his children think that when they find out what happened.
Absolutely, they do, yes.
And his wife is pissed, rightly so.
Yeah.
But still, I tried saving you once. I told you to leave the kid. We could have been safe together for our living children.
Yeah.
And you chose to go back for this child who was literally a lost cause at that point. Gosh, it's really a moral gray.
It is. Yeah, there's no right or wrong answer, in my opinion. I mean, I wouldn't fault somebody for going and trying to help them either.
Right.
If they tried and helped and failed, still wouldn't fault them. I'd be like, all right, well, that was brave.
Yeah.
They tried.
The kids who are safe somewhere else, they're still safe.
Yeah.
They just no longer have parents.
Yeah.
We talked about how in 28 Days Later, there's that theme of, when do you lose your humanity? Like, what line do you cross? And when do you lose your humanity and become something else? In this one, when you're watching it, I think it's that whole suspend your disbelief movie magic where infected dad just magically
shows up everywhere,
all through town.
Every time he's like around the corner, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
What?
How the hell did he get here from wherever he was?
Yeah, it's a huge city. Yeah. What is it? It's in London, isn't it? Yeah. Like, what?
London, and he's somehow finding them at every corner.
At every turn, yeah.
But I do think that the symbolism in that is important.
Yes.
Because there's trying to resettle London where it's supposedly safe. And technically it was.
It was, yeah.
Until the mother who carries the infection infected other people.
Infected her husband.
So in a supposed safe zone with a person that you consider safe, your parent, he then becomes the the driving source of danger through the whole movie.
Yeah.
So, I thought that was a really interesting symbolism. His humanity got lost. Did he lose his humanity when he became infected, or was it when he left his wife to die?
Ooh, deep, Brandon, deep.
So, of course. But I just thought that was very interesting. What did you think in 28 Days Later about the whole immunity thing? Did you
28 days?
I'm sorry, 28
weeks?
weeks later. Yeah.
I don't think. Okay, so I liked the idea of it, and I thought it was really interesting. I liked how you could still be a carrier but be immune to it.
Yeah.
I think the part that irritates me is that it doesn't really play into anything else after that.
Yeah, it's just sort of a drop.
It just gets dropped. Altogether. Yeah, and there's no feeling or sense of closure on that whole idea. It's just gone.
I thought it was interesting. I liked the concept, like you said, the fact that you can be immune but still carry.
Yeah.
I didn't like the idea that it was tied to, at least the film seemed to be inferring that it was tied to the heterochromia eyes.
Yeah, the immunity. Yeah.
Because the mother had heterochromia, the son had
was
heterochromia.
Also, can I just mention the cast in this one is great.
Oh, yeah.
Just amazing.
Yeah, the cast in the first one too, but this one also.
My other boyfriend is in here.
Oh, Jeremy Renner.
Yes, he's in here.
Yeah, he is.
So I really enjoyed that one.
I bet you did.
Yeah, that's a good one. And then you talked about Robert Carlyle. I'm going to murder his name, but Harold Perrineau. He's in this. He was in Lost.
Lost and currently in From. Which, amazing series.
Yeah, it's a really good one.
Idris Elba.
What the heck? I forgot he was even in it.
I know,
and when I saw it, I was like, oh, I love him.
I completely forgot he was in it. And I was, it made me smile to see him in this movie because I love Idris Elba so much. Oh, yeah.
Rose Byrne. She's been in some other things. You may know her. And then you said Imogen Poots? Imogen Poots is pretty well known. Yeah. I don't recognize her from anything, but.
Yeah, she's been around for a while. She was, I think a lot of them are films you haven't seen. That's probably why.
Oh, you watch a lot of.
The 2019 Black Christmas. She was in The Green Room. Lots of other things.
Anyway. That cast was great.
Yeah, super great cast.
Yeah. 28 Days Later had a great cast too.
Oh, man. Friggin' phenomenal.
Like, chef's kiss.
Yeah.
So good. In 28 Days Later, Brendan Gleeson is in that one. He plays the father. And then there was Christopher Eccleston. He's in that. He plays one of the icky...
he plays kind of the leader of the
army.
The army.
Yeah. Cillian Murphy's in this one. And I think this is kind of one of his first-ish major films where he...
kind of his big breakout role.
Yeah. And then Naomi Harris.
Naomi Harris. So friggin' good.
She's amazing.
Yes. Another idea that was presented in 28 Weeks Later, but also dropped, was the fact that the infection had escaped Great Britain. And at the end, the last few frames are of the infected descending upon the Eiffel Tower, kind of inferring
gone everywhere.
It's going global now.
Yeah, which in 28 years later, we find that it has not left mainland England at all. And they're living on an island. And
I suppose let's just move into 28 years later.
Let's do it. Yeah?
Okay, so this is your chance, folks. Anyone who has not seen 28 Years Later yet, turn us off now.
Yeah.
When you see it, come back and listen to us some more. We'll kind of break down a little bit more about 28 Years Later, see how you feel about it.
Yeah, and I can't wait to hear what people have to say about it.
So
have an opinion, you should tell us.
28 Years Later, within the first few minutes, in fact, the very first thing you end up seeing is a title card. It was referencing the apparent, quote-unquote, global escape of the virus, the infection. It says that the infection went mainland Europe, but was driven back by United Forces or whatever it was. So they tried to fix that. So they just said, hey, it went that far, but we kicked its ass and it went back to mainland Britain. Mm-hmm. However, we can't seem to free mainland Britain again for whatever reason.
Yeah.
That idea is scrapped, but at least it's referenced, I guess, rather than just not referencing it at all. Mm-hmm. I liked the opening sequence to this movie, where it's a whole bunch of children sitting in front of a TV watching Teletubbies. Mm-hmm. And there's a mother that's kind of running through the house, like just roughshod. Mm-hmm. And the children start slowly kind of understanding what's going on. They start kind of crying and trying to remain calm, but not.
They know what's happening.
Yeah, certainly they do. So that
pretty
opening
terrifying
sequence,
opening, honestly.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
That sequence was supposed to be taking place at the beginning of the infection. So within the first 28 days. Mm-hmm. Infection happens, kind of runs through that house, and one child ends up surviving, running to a church where he finds
his father,
which
is a father,
which is also a father, a religious a religious figure, and shit just keeps going downhill.
Yeah.
So at that point, that becomes the last time we see the child for a long time.
The entire movie.
Yeah.
Do you remember I don't know if it was the very beginning or if it was like at the beginning there was a lady chanting the same thing over and over and over again.
Oh, the background score.
Yeah. Loved that.
Yeah, so
that's pretty intense.
That is a very I forget what the name of that audio track is called.
Mm-hmm. But it's famous.
But it's
I feel like I've heard it before.
Well known enough. It was also featured in a movie called Horror in the High Desert 2.
You are a movie nerd.
You've never
seen... Oh my gosh. Doubtful.
I know for a fact you've never seen that movie. It's a found footage movie about people looking for this hiker who got lost in the desert while he was looking for something else. Ended up... Anyway, not really important to what's going on here. But that that chanting track has been around a while. Really good use.
That was really good. It
set a really good sort of ominous tone.
Yeah.
And I also did so I will say, 28 years later, overall, I didn't particularly care for it.
No, I didn't either.
There's some parts, though, I really did like.
Yeah.
Some parts I just, I felt really missed the mark.
Yeah.
I will say the first act, fucking solid. After the scene with the children who get murdered, basically.
They get murdered. They die.
And Jimmy goes and hides. You get another sequence where it's a boy waking up. He's 12 years old. He's being taken out to the mainland for the first time.
At 12.
At 12. Usually they go at 14. I don't know why they felt the need to make that distinction. They could have just made the kid 14.
Yeah.
I don't know why. But anyway, going on the first trip to the mainland to hunt infected with his father. Mm-hmm. That's the whole point of that whole first third. The child is learning to survive.
It's like a coming of age.
Yeah, basically, yes.
Because everybody was celebrating.
Yeah, so they get to the mainland, they hunt infected, kid gets his kills, trouble happens, they meet a new type of, in fact, two new types of infected.
Two new types of infecteds.
One called a slow low.
Yes.
Which is, I had to say it just...
It's just an observation. Strictly an observation.
It is fat people. I found it funny because when I was listening to our 28 Days Later episode, I mentioned how, hey, it'd be fun to see some out-of-shape zombies.
Yes.
Or some out-of-shape infected, and how they're kind of falling behind all the really fast, because Danny Boyle hired almost exclusively athletes and dancers to play the infected.
Because they're so fast and nimble. Yeah.
But there was no out-of-shape infected in the whole of Britain.
And I mean, come on, like if you're going to get bit by a zombie, not everybody in Britain's going to be, in shape.
Yeah, it's just not going to happen.
No.
So in this movie, we finally do see some out-of-shape zombies, infected,
Infected, yes.
And they crawl around. They're very slow, as the name suggests. They scavenge for anything.
Anything, yeah.
Worms, insects, whatever.
Anything that looks like a worm.
Yeah, like shoelaces.
Shoelaces.
And we meet another kind of infected, of a much more menacing sort. The alpha.
Very naked.
Yeah, naked nudity throughout this movie.
Not even just like a regular naked, but like very naked.
Yeah, very naked.
Below the waist.
Dongs all throughout this movie.
Huge.
Yeah.
Because these guys are giant.
Yeah, so it's revealed to the viewer that the rage infection, at some point during its evolution, acted as a sort of steroid.
Like a testosterone.
Basically, yeah, which caused some infected to become larger, more muscular, hulking figures. And they lead more or less all the rest of the infected, the very common infected. Yeah. So Spike and Jamie are beset upon by this alpha. They're running back to camp.
They're out of arrows.
They've got, and I think Jamie said it takes something. He's seen
12
arrows to take down an alpha before. So they get back to camp and they're saved last minute, of course, because dramatic tension.
Yes.
But they survive their experience. Hooray!
Yeah, and everyone's a party.
And then there's a party celebrating and drunkenness and infidelity happens and Spike gets angry and Spike finds out that there's mystery person on the mainland.
Yeah, mystery doctor.
Possibly a doctor who could save
his mother is really sick.
Who's very sick.
Yeah. So that's the whole impetus for him leaving the island with his mother to get her help because he's worried about her. She's sick.
Now, Leia, this brings to mind kind of the first thing that I didn't like about 28 years later. Spike finds out about this doctor from an older member of his community.
Ralph Fiennes.
Ralph Fiennes plays Dr. Kelson. The guy, the older guy seems to know Dr. Kelson because it was his former GP before the world went to shit. It's odd to me because when Spike finds out about this, he confronts his dad about, hey, you knew there was a doctor there.
Yeah.
Why aren't we helping Mom?
Yeah.
And Jamie says, well, he's mad. He's insane.
Yeah.
We can't go talk to him. And then Spike's like, well, what happened? So finally, Jamie tells him, when I was much younger, I was on a hunting expedition with a few of the other younger people from the area. We came across this bonfire, and there was this doctor who was carrying a whole bunch of dead people. They were laid out in rows, and he was burning them. And at one point, he looked up at us and waved.
And that was crazy.
And
that's where he stopped it. He's like, and that was crazy. And
that was crazy.
That was crazy. And I was like, what? He's just trying to get rid of the bodies.
How is that crazy?
Yeah.
You didn't even talk to the man.
Yeah.
You just saw him carrying and burning bodies and then waved at you. He was garbed in full, surgeon's gear.
He was, yeah. It was bizarre.
He's not crazy.
No.
He's just a man who's doing something to fill his time. Had you communicated, Leia, how many times have I said in horror movies?
Nobody communicates.
Nobody fucking communicates. Communication is so key.
Yeah.
So that was sort of the one thing that rubbed me the wrong way because Jamie didn't communicate with him. He just called him crazy.
Yeah.
He never found out his name. So how does everyone else in the community know that that's Dr. Kelson?
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't have described the man because he's in full surgeon's gear.
Yeah.
So who's he describing this guy to anyway?
I have no idea. No answers.
I didn't like that bit.
Yes, clearly.
Spike is angry about the whole situation, says, F you, Dad. The next day, Spike concocts a plan to escape the colony with his mother to get his mother to the doctor.
Right.
Thinking he can save his mother.
Mm-hmm.
Along that journey, Spike encounters a Swedish soldier who I think the only reason that soldier was put in the movie was to give the audience a reference point of, yes, the world is truly
still
just
exists.
Moving on without this one country.
Guy had a cell phone. Guy was talking about internet, television, and all this stuff that's going on the, elsewhere.
Yeah.
And then he got stuck there. And once you're stuck there, you can't leave.
You there's no rescue party coming for you. But I think that was his only purpose.
I think so too, because he didn't last very long.
He didn't last long. He didn't serve any
And you certainly didn't care
purpose.
about him.
Yeah.
He's dead.
Yeah.
Okay.
They didn't make you form any connection to him at all.
No.
But, whatever. It's fine. Every horror movie needs cannon fodder. He happened to be the red shirt.
He did.
Yeah, and this is all in the second act. The second act I thought was okay. I didn't feel the film fell apart just yet. I felt it losing my interest.
And the big thing for me was that the feel was completely different.
Yeah.
The film's great on its own. A standalone film, it's a good film.
If this were not part of the 28 lineage.
The feel was gone. And there's a whole segment in the movie where I literally just bawled my eyes out for 5 minutes. What the hell? I didn't sign up for that.
Yeah.
I wasn't there to bawl my eyes out for 5 minutes.
Right.
28 days later and 28 weeks later had a lot of sad moments in it.
They did.
Very touching, heartfelt moments, but they don't let you sit in it for very long.
Yeah.
So you don't sit there and cry about it because you're like, oh, that's really sad. And then they move on to something else and you're like, oh, more action. This makes you freaking sit in it.
Well, and that's I think the reason why they don't let you sit in it in the first two movies is Selena said it right early in the film. You don't get emotional about having to kill somebody.
Yeah.
You take care of business and you move on.
Sure.
Because you have to. If you linger, if you hesitate too long, you're dead.
And I guess if you put it that way, it does change my feeling a little bit in terms of maybe that's the point, was that at 28 years later, people are finally allowed to have emotions and to feel.
Yeah.
And they wanted the audience to feel as well, but it wasn't portrayed very well.
It wasn't.
It was just sad.
It was. And I think it was intentional to pull at your heartstrings for sure.
Well, yeah.
And
it worked.
The scene took place in that big bone temple where apparently the doctor had made it quite clear that his choice of location for that bone temple was naturally pretty safe from infected, given the raging river nearby.
Clearly not safe from alphas, though.
Not safe from alphas. And that brings up another point here, Leia. Why are we just continually putting this alpha to sleep?
I was wondering that same thing. I'm like, why doesn't he just kill it? It's almost like he has an affection for the alphas, or like for the infected
for that
in
one.
general.
Yeah, maybe for the whole
but
bunch.
It was like this close to him, and he had the ability to stab it or something. Or when he put it to sleep, he could have slit its throat and killed it.
That alpha had gotten put to sleep a number of times and nearly cost him his life because he just continually
lets it come back.
Yeah.
What the hell?
So, I mean, maybe that will be more examined in the next one.
Maybe.
But the whole point of that doctor making that temple, that memento mori, as he explained to Spike about how, remember, you have to die.
Yeah.
The alpha at some point needs to die.
Yes.
Because it's causing conflict. It's causing trouble.
He's killing people.
It's trying to kill him. It's an infected human. It's a human who, without that infection, would be a normal person. The normal human person that I guess still is that creature is angry all the time. It's literal rage.
Yes.
You'd be doing it a service.
A kindness
to dispatch it.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. If there's no cure.
It didn't make any sense.
No, it didn't make sense. So we get toward the final act in the film. Spike ends up, so along the way they find an infant.
Yes.
Well, I guess they don't. Well, they sort of do find an infant. They come across an infected who is giving birth, which was weird.
Yeah.
But I'm suspecting maybe in the sequel
that'll
or
be the cure
third
or
one,
something.
Maybe they're going to show that one to have heterochromia and it'll be immune.
Yeah.
Just like the characters in 28 Weeks Later, thus kind of more solidifying that movie into
God,
this.
I hope so.
Hopefully
That's speculation, though, because after seeing the ending of this film, I don't know what this next film is going to be like.
Yeah. So Spike surreptitiously drops the infant off at the colony and then goes back into the wilderness. Jamie is shaken and distraught because he wants his son back. His son wants basically nothing to do with him at this point. Jamie, it appears that Jamie is going to, in the sequel, perhaps go out to find Spike.
Mm-hmm.
But Spike, in his time spent on the mainland, on his own, 28 days later, at that point, he finally gets kind of really trapped and cornered by some infected. So here we enter into a really divisive ending. I've seen people who love the ending.
It's fun to read about.
I personally really, really did not like this ending.
No, it really left a bad taste in my mouth.
For me, it wasn't so much Jimmy. We see Jimmy again.
Yes, from the beginning. Remember the kid?
28 years ago, he was a child. Now he's older.
Yes.
He is wearing a tracksuit.
They're all wearing tracksuits.
He's got a crew with him. They're all wearing various
gold
colored
jewelry
tracksuits.
and tracksuits.
When we first see Spike, he's almost packing up a Power Ranger.
Yeah.
To put in his satchel to take with him to the mainland.
He's like, I'm grown now. Yeah, I don't need that.
These people are all dressed up in multicolored tracksuits, a la Power Rangers.
That's the first impression you get.
Or Teletubbies.
Yeah, or Teletubbies.
Right? And they're all wearing very bleach blonde wigs.
Yes.
With bangs.
Weird.
They were not afraid to cut bangs.
No.
And then we get parkour,
ninja, kung fu bullshit. It was so flashy. I'm like, what am I watching?
I don't mind the cocky, egotistical Jimmy, because there are cocky and egotistical people that I'm sure probably would have survived. I get that.
They'd be just as douchey.
They'd just be a whole big old bag of douches.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Even the tracksuits don't necessarily bother me, because sometimes you just got to wear what's at hand, right?
Yeah.
Maybe all they had were just fucking boxes of tracksuits.
They must have found a semi-truck.
Yeah.
Full of tracksuits. And they're like, bros, look at all these tracksuits and gold rings and necklaces.
So what really...
And tennis shoes.
Yeah. What really bothered me was the flashy, everybody's jumping around doing flips and shit.
It was so weird.
That goes really against everything that the series has taught us so far.
Yeah.
You do something stupid, you die.
Yeah.
Jim did something stupid, which caused Mark to die in the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Frank did something stupid, which caused him to die in the first one.
Yep.
The kids and the father did something stupid in 28 Weeks Later, which caused everyone to die.
Yeah, everyone, yes.
In this movie, all the Jimmies are doing something stupid.
But they don't die.
They're
heroes.
They are behaving stupid and erratic.
Yeah.
All of the thoughtless combats, we've been taught through the first two movies that you fight
or run.
And when you do fight, you do so
effectively. Yes. Cleanly.
Doing
quickly.
Flips and sawing a zombie in half with piano wire. That's not quick. It's not efficient. It's just plain fucking stupid.
Yeah. Well, and they're not like slow zombies at this point either. We've talked about there's other zombies out there. These were the regular running ones.
These were
that were
fast zombies,
scary.
The fast infected.
Yeah. A very small part of me is trying to hold out hope that this is all going to make sense.
Yeah.
And that I am overreacting.
Right.
And that I'm going to be told that I was a stupid idiot for thinking that this ending was terrible.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping.
That's what I'm hoping for as well.
Please. Laugh and point at me and tell me you told you so when the next movie comes out and this is the best ending that ever happened for this movie. But it's a very small part of me because right now, I don't believe it.
Yeah. So it should be mentioned that the Jimmies are all dressed in the typical style of a real life person named Jimmy Savile. So Jimmy Savile was a very popular, extremely popular British children's entertainer. And he was known for his philanthropy. He went to hospitals, he entertained, he gave a lot of his time. And it wasn't until after his death, he was beloved through his entire life.
Nobody knew any different.
Until after he died, it came out that he is possibly one of Great Britain's most prolific sexual predators.
Pedos.
He absolutely was a sexual predator. There's no doubt about that.
But he may have been
the extent to which is up for debate.
Yeah.
Regardless,
gross.
What is known is that
gross.
Regardless, it wasn't just a few occasions, it was a lot.
Yeah.
He was a sexual predator on children and the elderly, from what I had read. So they're dressed in the style of that man. Now, what Danny Boyle may have been trying to do is signal to us that, hey, these people are emulating a person who portrayed safety.
Was definitely not safe.
But was a predator, a child predator in specific.
Right.
Spike is a child.
Yeah.
Maybe Danny Boyle is trying to wink at us and say, hey,
these are bad people.
You think Spike is being saved?
Yeah.
Oh, he's not.
Yeah.
He's in for real trouble.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what's going on.
Maybe.
And that would have been a fine ending. Leave the fucking flips at home, please.
Yeah, you're pretty bothered by those.
Oh my God, that I can't express how much that flashiness really spoiled what was otherwise a mostly good movie. I still preferred the other two, but that really brought this film down for me because it shattered everything that the series has been portraying and telling us until now.
Yeah. But it is 28 years later,
It is 28 years later.
So maybe that's part of it. I don't know.
Maybe it is.
But I got to be honest. I did walk out of that theater going, all right.
Yeah.
I had no words.
We both were pretty visibly crestfallen.
Yeah. I think you even said at one point too, you're like, isn't there any other names other than Jim?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Why?
Can Danny Boyle use some names other than Jim? I mean,
he's got Jim and Jamie.
He's got Jim, Jamie, and then all the fucking Jimmies. They're all Jimmy. All people in Jimmy Crystal's cult.
So just
are all named Jimmy.
A little something kind of funny. They all have their own names.
Yes, they do.
It's Jimmy, which is the main guy. Jimmy Inc., Jimmy Shite, Jimmy Fox, Jimmy Jones, Jimmy Steak, and Jemima.
Yeah.
Which is a lady, Jimmy.
Right. Of course. That makes total sense.
Yeah.
So why did, I mean, I understand if he's really trying to drive home this whole Jimmy Savile thing.
Yeah.
Then maybe that's why he went for Jimmy as the name for Jimmy Crystal. You still could have, man, another name would have been fine.
Something else.
Because now it's rumored that Cillian Murphy is going to have a much larger part in the sequel. Mm. At that point, you got Jim fighting Jimmys. Can we?
Maybe there'll be a joke in there somewhere.
Maybe. I hope so. Overall, I didn't like the movie as part of the 28 series.
Ditto.
I liked it as its own thing.
Yeah, maybe they'll save it in the next one.
I felt a little early Peter Jackson or Sam Raimi with the whole Jimmy's parkouring around.
Yeah.
Like, remember in Brain Dead where the priest comes up and he's like, "Oh, I kick ass for the Lord." And it starts ninja fighting all the
I don't
the
necessarily, but I do remember the scene in the park with the baby.
Yeah, that was way
very
over the top.
Yeah, way over the top as well.
So anyway,
that's it.
That's it, folks. That's our thoughts. That's our what you did say.
What you did say?
The 28 series. Granted, we did give most of our time to 28 years.
That was the most recent and fresh on our mind.
But that was it. I mean, everyone has seen 28 Days and Weeks to the Ends of the Earth. I'm sure.
And those are such great films. Yeah. I don't really. I have lots of good things to say about them, but I really needed to get some shite.
Yeah.
Some Jimmy shite. Off my 28 years later list, okay? Because I was feeling a little, like you said, crestfallen was a really good word for that.
We are, like you had just mentioned not long ago, we are very optimistic about possibly the sequel really turning us around on it.
I have to be.
And I'll be happy to eat some crow at that point.
Yep, absolutely.
But man, if you just a different ending, dude, that's all I needed.
Yeah.
No, in fact, it wasn't even just a different ending, just no flips.
No flips.
Please.
Yeah, you could have kept in all the Jimmies even.
That's all I needed, man. I hate to say that the flips were what ruined this whole movie for me.
Yeah.
But it kind of did.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, we've kept you all far too long. Leia, what do you say we let them go?
What you did say?
What you did say?
Sounds good. Let's leave.
All right. Bye, y'all.
Bye.